Hey guys, Maikeru here. So I stopped by Gaijin Goomba's channel earlier today and I was checking out a video that he just did on the Grandpa Dragon Pokemon that is coming out in Sun and Moon. And while I was watching that video, I got to thinking for myself. I was wondering why the Pokemon Company chose locations outside of Japan for the past couple games. That would be X and Y takes place in France and Black and White take place in New York, New Jersey area. And also, I don't know if you guys have been keeping tabs on theories about the new games, but Alchemy is supposed to be heavily influencing gameplay in the new games, or at least the story, or the Pokemon designs, or something. Alchemy is going on in this game, and thanks to some Poke professionals, I've been able to keep track of the latest and greatest rumors regarding that kind of stuff. So I was wondering myself, I can't find a ton of videos on it, so I figured why not do my own? So that's what I did, and I went and I did a bunch of research, and I found a lot of really cool stuff, so take a look, guys. It actually makes a lot of sense that the Pokemon Company would have chosen to place their games in these various locations. Not only is the history between these various nations and locations colored, but they're deep and current as well. Relations between Japan and France started all the way back in the 1600s with ambassador/samurai Hasekura Tsunenaga when he showed up in the country on his way to Rome. Apparently his arrival there was quite a spectacle, especially considering that Japan had been going through at least a couple centuries of complete isolation at the time. Now this surprised me quite a bit. Japan is known for its exclusionary ways, and making contact that far west in the 17th century was not something I imagined happening, nor it going over very well. Since then, Japan and France have shared a long and prosperous relationship. France's silk was entirely dependent on Japan's help, and France has also taken inspiration from Japan in their modernism artistic movement. Though nobody from France was able to go to Japan between 1640 and almost 1800, again due to Japan's isolationism, they now share a robust trade and cultural exchange market. Basically, these two countries are extremely close and share a friendship I was just unaware of. Now, New York City and northern New Jersey I could have guessed about, being that I live in Massachusetts, meaning I'm about 4 hours away from Manhattan and New Jersey respectively, and have traveled to New Jersey many times for fun. But according to records from 2012, New York has the largest Japanese population on the East Coast, and that's made evident from the incredible amount of Japanese-inspired food, art, and goods that are found in New York City. For me, it's all about the food, especially Momofuku, a superb and super famous Japanese restaurant in New York City. The kitchen I work in makes authentic ramen noodle soup, and we luckily have connections to Momofuku, which is how that's possible for us to do. My favorite thing that we get from there is their sam sauce, which is, oh my god, delicious. Also, thanks to the Japan Society, created in circa 1907, which is a non-profit organization that seeks to bring the people of Japan and the United States together through mutual understanding, appreciation, and cooperation, citizens of the city have a place to go that accurately and respectively brings US and Japanese cultures together in order to learn and respect both sides. It's pretty cool stuff. So it makes a lot of sense that Black and White and X and Y would take place in these locations. I haven't met or communicated with Pokemon creators or designers, but I have to imagine that growing up they must have heard about France and New York City quite a bit. And after creating the biggest pop culture boom to have ever graced the earth, they've probably traveled to these locations by now to either meet with fans or distribution, to do TV spots or interviews, who knows, but it's highly likely that given the good relations between these areas and Japan, it's probably happened. Now, the reason that you're watching this is probably because you're interested in what's going on with the whole Japan and Hawaii thing with this new Pokemon game that's coming out. Well, it turns out that Japan and Hawaii have an interesting storied past and present. First, 16.7% of Hawaii's population is Japanese, or of Japanese ancestry. That's about 202,000 people. But how did these small islands become occupied by so many of Japanese descent? Well, the answer goes way back to about the time when the Americans first began relations, quote-unquote, with the Hawaiians. A Japanese merchant ship broke down in a snowstorm and drifted out into the Pacific Ocean in 1806. The men ran out of food and water and survived by collecting rainwater and fishing, though they were less than successful at either. They were eventually found by an American ship and brought back to Hawaii in a very non-US fashion. The captain of the vessel fed and cared for the Japanese sailors until leaving them in the care of King Kamehameha I. Now, fate was cruel to these men. They were a spectacle to the Hawaiians before they chartered a boat out to try and get home. On the way, though, many became ill and died, and on top of that, at the time it was illegal to leave Japan as well, so the returning survivors were labeled criminals, jailed, and then interrogated. One man even went so far as to commit suicide. In the end, there was only one survivor left to tell his tale, but then he died too within a year of logging it. In 1885, after lifting the ban on emigration, 153 Japanese citizens relocated to Hawaii to work as laborers on pineapple plantations. However, within 10 years, the Americans did the American thing and overthrew the Hawaiian monarchy, disrupting pretty much everything. When this happened, voting rights were only allotted to Hawaiians, Americans, and Europeans, leaving out the Japanese and all other Asians. This didn't go over very well, but however, in 1898, all children born on Hawaiian soil were American citizens. Though that obviously doesn't always mean much, see World War II, etc., these citizens were referred to as Niseis, a person born in the US or Canada whose parents were immigrants from Japan. Now, however, citizens with Japanese ancestry make up about 1/5 of the Hawaiian population. Hawaii is a major tourist attraction for the Japanese, and the language and culture of Japan is widely taught and admired on the islands. There is tons of Japanese history and culture fused into Hawaiian life. It makes a ton of sense why these new games would take place there. Hawaii was one of the first places in America occupied by the Japanese and those with Japanese ancestry, and one of the first places in the US with high enough Japanese population to allot significant political power. But here's another question I had about these new games, thanks to some awesome poker professionals. Now, we've been shown significant evidence that Pokemon Sun and Moon are going to be heavily influenced by the study of alchemy, essentially chemistry but with magic. Now, there's virtually no information on alchemy in Japan, like none. However, here's some small history on the practice. Now, alchemy surfaced in Egypt and China respectively around the same exact time. Could it be aliens? However, knowledge in the West was all but lost when those silly Christians burned the library at Alexandria. Now, it didn't resurface until the Muslims brought it to Spain much later. Despite being founded around the same time, the use of the science or philosophy, whatever, was used in very different ways, reflective of the two cultures using it. In the West, the goal of alchemy was to create the Philosopher's Stone, basically an object that turns all base metals to gold, making the bearer of the Philosopher's Stone the most wealthy and powerful person ever. But in the East, the goal was the elixir of life. The Chinese wanted to create medicines and find immortality rather than gain such earthly possessions like gold. The biggest alchemic discovery, though, and the only place Japan has been mentioned as far as alchemy goes in my research, was gunpowder, and that was invented by the Chinese, and it quickly was shared to the Japanese. So, dead end, right? Wrong. Hawaii has an insane history with alchemy. So let's take a look at one of the first new Pokemon revealed from this new generation, Litten. Now the pattern on this Pokemon's face is known as the Leviathan Cross, also the alchemic symbol for sulfur. Now this is incredibly significant because the concept of Hawaiian alchemy is derived completely from the natural formations of the islands. Hawaii is home to many of the largest and most active volcanoes in the world, and we're also shaped by them, mostly from the magma and ash. Now, sulfur is a key component in any volcanic substance and is mined from volcanoes as well. Fire, the sun, magma, volcanoes is all worshipped by the ancient Hawaiians, and unification with these things is the object of ancient Hawaiian alchemy. Much like in ancient China, the Hawaiians used body movement to create alchemic reactions within themselves. The Chinese used these movements to generate health and to prolong life. The Hawaiian used them to become one with the island and fire itself in order to become perfect. The way they did this was actually incredibly familiar to everyone, the dance of hula. Every movement in hula is made not to emulate the grass and the sun, the ocean, and the wind, but to become those things entirely. It is said that a master of hula can make their audience feel as if a warm rain is falling on their skin, reminiscent of the power of the rays of the sun. Now, what about the moon? Well, in alchemy, the sun and the moon represent opposites that are to be united to obtain perfection. In fact, alchemy is designed to create perfection, and this core concept was not lost to the Hawaiians, despite being completely removed from outside influence. One alchemic deity is a man of fire, or fire that took the form of a man to become perfect. Now, there is a ton of information on this stuff out there, guys, so if you're interested in it, I totally urge you to go and look it up for yourself. This video isn't even going to do the multitude of pages upon pages of information justice. But what could we be looking at with new Pokemon games? Could we be looking at perfect evolutions, maybe fusion evolutions to create the perfect Pokemon? Are we going to have like a Blastoise and a Charizard come together to make the perfect starter? Are we going to have the legendaries from this game turn into the perfect combination of Pokemon, make the perfect Pokemon, something better than Arceus? I don't know what we're looking at here. But whatever it is, it's going to be great. So if you have theories on what this could mean, let us know. Like I said before, I am Maikeru. Normally this is where I would tell you guys to like, comment, and subscribe, but I'm going to let our new outro do the talking for me.